That number again, the UK economy growing by 0.3% during the first quarter of 2015. Let's see how that plays into the general election campaign. Those figures just dropping. More details, I'm sure, in the news and more analysis with some of my colleagues. Now, talking about analysis, why is it would appear that women are not engaging so far in this general election campaign? Why aren't women, it would appear, turned on by politics? Well, let's speak to someone who clearly is and is actually making a career in politics. She's a colourful councillor. She's a Labour councillor from Rochdale, I think it is as well. Karen Danczuk, who's joined me on board the bus. Karen, thanks for coming. Is it Rochdale Council?
Yes, Rochdale Council.
So what age were you when you got excited, engaged in politics? And more broadly, if the research is right, and you might tell me, Nick, it's utter codswallop, women are loving this general election. What is the reality of it?
Well, I got involved in politics, probably like really, really engaged when I was about 17, 18. So at 15, I was starting to understand, school governing and, realising that, you can make a difference with certain things. So for me, I was quite young, but I was quite a quiet kid, so I just read a lot. So for me, it's probably a bit different. In terms of women not being involved in politics, I don't know. It's difficult.
Apparently, this general election isn't cutting. I mean, you might say you don't agree. I don't know.
No, I do agree, and I think probably because there's not many women that can relate to the women. So the women that we do have in politics, I'm not being rude to them, they're really, really good, but are they relating to normal women? I would argue they probably could relate a bit more. So
could you? Would you go into mainstream politics?
Yeah, I would, and I think I think in some way, I think women like me need to kind of bring it back down to reality.
What makes you not like Harriet or not like Teresa or not like Yvette then?
Because I don't necessarily think that we should assume that if you're a woman, we should focus all our time and efforts talking about childcare. That's to me. Why can't we focus on actually improving women as in the workplace and not making compulsory women's shortlist for board members? I don't necessarily agree with that. I think a lot of women I know want to get a job based on their ability, not based on their sex. So I think just speaking a language that they understanding that, I don't know, dashing to maybe do a school run to then dash to the supermarket, just speaking the everyday problems.
Can you be shadow home secretary or home secretary, or if you are having to... I mean, I hear what you say, but if you're having to run to the shops and get the children and one of them's ill and you've got to go to the nursery and then you've got to go to the nativity, can you be a politician and do all of that?
Oh, I think so, definitely, yeah. And if not, then let's make that facility so you can do that. It's... I think we shouldn't wait for women to then have adult children or to be brought up in that circumstance. Or if you can't do that, then speak to proper women. Don't go to a nursery necessarily. Go door knocking. Come to just normal people's doors. And women that I speak to, they're very there's just nothing there to relate to them.
What was it Harriet Harman has alleged to have once said about you? You're too pretty to go into politics?
Yeah, do you know what?
Did she say that?
She did say that. And when I tweeted that, I was saying it more out of flattery. I wasn't saying it because I was annoyed by it. And I think she clearly just can't remember saying it. And I was quite, when I seen Harriet, I was like, oh, because I did actually really respect Harriet. I was like, oh, can I have a photograph with you? And she's like, oh my word, yes you can. You're far too pretty for politics. You should be in Girls Aloud. And it wasn't meant in a nasty way, And I was like, oh, thank you. So
you say, Karen, you did respect her. That makes it sound in the past. Is the respect no longer there?
Oh no, I wouldn't say I don't respect her, but I would have preferred if she said I don't remember saying that, but I'm glad Karen's done well. But to call me a liar, I don't like that, do I? No one would like that. When someone says something, just
have you patched it up with Ms. Harman?
Oh, I wouldn't say I've fallen out with her to really patch things up.
So things are cool.
Oh yeah, she's doing a really good job.
All right, now for listeners who don't realise, I'm sure they do. Of course, you're married to a Labour MP, Simon Danczuk, and I know I can rely on you not to talk about constituency issues because we talk about that. But Simon's been in the news because Nick Clegg has said that he owes him an apology for turning calls for justice for victims of child abuse into a party political issue. He was speaking on LBC. Simon Danczuk denied he was cheapening the issue of child abuse by people like Cyril Smith. Your husband says it's not about what political party abusers belong to. Your husband wants to highlight the issue and get justice. He says he's disappointed Mr. Clegg has chosen to use spin on an issue as child sex abuse. How do you respond to this?
I think it's clear that, certainly for Simon, and we've obviously not had a conversation, I didn't know this question was going to be asked. I think for him, he's making it quite clear it's not party politics, because for him it doesn't matter what party they come from, whether it's Labour at the moment is disgusted by the CPS, who aren't going to bring charges against
that's right.
Lord Janner.
Yes,
so it's
fine.
cross-party for him. It's not It's not just because it might be a Liberal Democrat or
Well,
because
it's
it's
also
Conservative.
worth pointing out that Cyril Smith was a Labour councillor as well at
Yeah,
times of the
exactly.
offences were going on. Why is your husband, and thank the Lord he is, why is he so motivated by this?
He doesn't like wrongdoing. He doesn't like wrongdoing, and a bit like me, really. I think where do people go who have had this kind of upbringing and have gone through this? If you're elected, you should be their voice, and he's quite passionate about it. For him, if he didn't lead on it, he just couldn't sleep at night. He just cannot switch off from it. For as long as he knows there's injustice about this topic, he just won't rest. And honestly, he's like a dog with a bone. So if there's any advice for Nick Clegg, just give up now, Nick, because you are not going to win.
And of course, sadly, you're speaking from a position of personal experience, aren't you? I won't go in areas you don't want to go, but how much does the fact that you've been a victim of abuse yourself, how much does that inform Simon's work, your husband's work?
I think he was fairly passionate about things anyway. I mean, I'm fairly restricted on what I can say for me personally, but I think if you live through that and you see the consequences of what that does to a person, it naturally makes you more motivated.
Do to a person?
It shatters them. It takes you trust no one. You have horrific nightmares. You can't live a normal life.
Are you a shattered person?
I were. I'm not now. I mean, thankfully I've had a therapist, so I'm one of the lucky ones. So I'm completely rebuilt, and that's why I am the way I am now, because I will not be ashamed about who I am. And I used to be ashamed, but I'm not anymore. So if anyone says, "Oh, well, you shouldn't be, wear low-cut tops because this has happened to you," not reclaiming your body is a part of that process of recovery. You have got to reclaim yourself because your body is took away from you. Someone takes your body; they take control of it. It's not a good place to be.
For someone listening now who's endured what you've endured and they've not yet had therapy or they're thinking of going through therapy, Karen, if there's one thing that the therapist helped you with, there's one lesson or moral or message that came across, what would that particular thing be, would you say?
For me, there was two major things for me. I used to have horrific nightmares, and it was every night. So I didn't have a peaceful sleep for so long. So just being able to have a peaceful sleep, but just having your confidence, it rebuilds your confidence. And for so many years, I was told, "Karen, you need therapy. You need therapy." And I was classic, no way in the world. I'm not having therapy. I do not need it. I don't need therapy. And it's the best thing I've done. Forget anything else in my life, anything I've achieved. Having therapy and just dealing with it is just transformed my life, and that's how I am, how I can be me today. And people are so shocked that I don't think I'm God's gift to man. I don't at all, but I'm just got that confidence back because I've took control of my life, and that is what therapy does for you. I'd urge anyone to go for it. If you contemplating it, just Google it and just try it, because it's really worth it.
Why a self is important to you?
I think because I don't necessarily do it as a way of like dealing with situations. It's just the world we live in, isn't it? And I just think, just be you. I'm sat here today, and I'm not, plastered in makeup. I'm not a size 0. I've got lumps in places that women don't want lumps. But it's just being happy with you. And selfish for me is just a reflection of, this is me. Take me as I am.
And could that be part of the reclaiming process?
Oh, definitely. Yeah. This is me taking a selfie. And anyone who says, don't do it, just don't look, because it's me.
Yeah. Just while I've got the benefit of you, I was going to say in the studio, but in fact you're on a bus.
On a bus, yeah.
On a bus. There's a story sort of involving, you talk about being proud of how you look and having lumps or bumps and where they might or might not be. There's a young woman in the papers today, Poppy Smart, who's 23, and she called in the police because she was being wolf whistled by local builders. But she wasn't just wolf whistled once or twice. It went on for 4 weeks, and West Mercia police confirmed they've now investigated. Is one wolf whistle all right? And if it is, how many before it becomes intimidation? Or are none of them all right? I mean, I'm not being cheeky, but I imagine you probably get whistled.
Yeah, well, we've got workers outside the office at the moment, so most mornings when I walk in the office, like, they have a bit of a whistle. So for me, when I first heard this, I thought, oh, just ignore it kind of thing. But I mean, when you're talking on the scale that they've had, I mean, it's difficult. It is intimidating, I think, for some women. For me, I'm fairly strong, so I'd be kind of like thinking, yeah, I'm glad you're wolf whistling, but it's going to, that's all you're going to be able to do. You can't do anything more. But for some women, they are a bit intimidating.
But if it was every day for 2 weeks, would that you're still robust enough?
Yeah. Well, these workers have been outside the office for a while, so I'm kind of used to it.
Yeah,
so yeah,
you probably give as good as you get.
Yeah. Yeah, but that's me, and I'm quite strong. So I do feel, I mean, the fact that she has to go to the police, that is so sad that she really, I mean, where do you go to as well? You can't go onto the site to say, listen, I'm not happy with your workers, because they might be one of the ones whistling. So, yeah, I think if a lady looks like she's not enjoying it, then my advice to them workers would be, don't do it again. Just do it the once, and if she really looks upset, then just...
And lastly,
Yeah.
before I let you go, Labour's talking tough on immigration today, as you're probably aware.
Yes.
Miliband. Can Labour be trusted on immigration this time around? A lot of commentators say, look at what they did last time they were in government. They said it would be 13,000 a year. 750,000 people later, they gave up counting. Can Labour be trusted?
Yes, I think so. Yeah, I mean, we've got a completely different leader for a start who's going to take charge, and you can't live off what other people have done. I mean, we focus on the negatives and what Labour did get wrong under a certain leadership, but we never focus on the positives of what we got right under a different leadership. So yeah, absolutely, I think everyone, certainly the last 5 years, has been affected by immigration. So I completely think we'll get it right.
Pleasure meeting you. Can I tell
Thank
the
you for
listeners you're
having me.
just as bright and bubbly as you appear on those selfies. So thank you very much for coming
Thank
along. Karen
you.
Danczuk appearing with me on board the battle bus here in Liverpool. Just turned 9:47.
Oh,
Thank you very much indeed.
thank you.